That summer was supposed to be a perfect family vacation. My sister Emily planned everything. Beachside villa, fancy dinners, coordinated outfits for photos. My parents were thrilled, calling it the reunion we all needed. I'd just lost my job a few months prior, so I was hesitant to go. But Emily insisted, saying, "It'll be good for you. Just relax for once." I scraped together what I could, chipped in for the rental, and promised myself I wouldn't let money ruin the mood. But from the moment we arrived, the tension started. Emily complained about my cheap luggage. My parents sighed every time I ordered something less expensive at restaurants. Even small things, like when I offered to cook instead of going out, became jokes. I tried ignoring it, smiling through every jab. But on the third night, everything snapped. It started when Emily's boyfriend made a snide remark about me being the charity case of the family. My dad laughed. My mom said, "Oh, don't say that, he's trying," but in that tone that only made it worse. Something inside me cracked. I didn't yell or curse. I just said, "You know what? You're right. Let's see how this vacation goes without me." Then I left. They thought I was bluffing. Until the next morning, when they woke up to find the car keys, the villa reservation, and the entire trip plan locked under my name. Everything, bookings, bills, and logistics, was handled through my account because Emily's card had declined during planning, and I just canceled it all. The moment I left that villa, I felt both terrified and free. I walked down the coastal road with nothing but my backpack and a half-charged phone. Behind me, my family was probably still laughing, still believing I'd come crawling back, like always. But not this time. By mid-morning, I started getting calls, first from my mom, then Emily, then my dad. I ignored them all until one message came through. "What did you do?" "The resort says our reservation is canceled. They're asking us to leave." I paused, sitting by a roadside cafe overlooking the ocean. The waves were calm, sunlight spilling over the horizon, and for once, I didn't feel guilty. I'd spent months being their emotional and financial safety net, taking the hits, making excuses for their behavior. They saw me as the family disappointment, but behind every perfect vacation or event, I was the one quietly holding it all together. Now, they'd have to handle it themselves. By afternoon, the calls turned frantic. Emily's voice messages were filled with anger, swearing, blaming me for ruining everything. My dad sent a cold text. "You've embarrassed us. You're out of this family." My mom, though hers hit hardest, she simply wrote, "We expected better." It should have hurt more than it did. But sitting there, sipping cheap coffee, and watching the tide roll in, I realized something. They only valued me when I was useful. When I stopped giving, I became disposable. I booked a small inn in a nearby town with the refund money. Nothing fancy, just a clean bed, a view of the sea, and silence. The next few days were quiet, almost unnerving. No one to mock me, no one to ask for favors. Just me. I hiked along the cliffs, read, thought, and finally slept properly for the first time in years. Then, something unexpected happened. 3 days later, my mom showed up. She found me through my cousin, who lived 2 towns over. I opened the door to see her standing there, hair messy, eyes red, still in her vacation clothes. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "They left." I didn't understand. She explained that after the reservation was canceled, Emily and Dad got into a screaming match. The resort kicked them out after Emily tried to argue with the staff. My dad stormed off to find another hotel. Emily went back home early in humiliation, and my mom, she stayed behind, unsure where to go. "I came to see you," she said quietly, "to understand why." We sat in silence for a long time before I spoke, because I was tired of being the joke, Mom. I did everything right. I helped. I stayed quiet. And you all still made me feel small. She didn't argue. For once, she didn't try to defend anyone. She just nodded, her hands trembling around her coffee cup. I didn't realize she whispered, "You always looked so strong." That moment broke something open in both of us. She apologized, not with grand words, but with that fragile, honest tone only a mother can have when she's finally seeing her child clearly. We spent the next 2 days together, just walking the town. No talks of family, no drama. We shared meals, laughed a little, and I saw glimpses of who she used to be before expectations and comparisons turned everything into competition. Before she left, she hugged me tight and said, "You didn't ruin the vacation, you just forced us to see what it really was." I watched her drive away that morning, sunlight glinting off the car as it disappeared down the winding road. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a failure. I felt like someone who finally stood up for himself. A few weeks later, I got an email from Emily. Short, sharp, cold as ever. "You owe us an apology." I never replied. Instead, I posted the beach photos I'd taken alone, sunrise over the waves, the empty villa in the distance, and one caption that said it all. Sometimes peace looks like walking away. I didn't hear from my family for weeks after the vacation fallout. The silence was almost peaceful. No guilt, no manipulation, no pretending to be the easy one just to keep things calm. I spent those weeks rebuilding my routine, applying for jobs, cooking cheap dinners, and realizing how much lighter life felt without walking on eggshells. Then one evening my mom called. Her voice trembled. "We need to talk." She didn't sound angry. She sounded defeated. They tried to rebook their trip after I canceled it, but lost thousands in non-refundable costs. The resort refused to cooperate, since everything had been under my name. Emily's boyfriend broke up with her soon after, saying the drama was too much. When we met a few days later, my parents looked smaller somehow, less sure, less judgmental. My mom apologized first, tears in her eyes. "We shouldn't have made you feel lesser." My dad didn't say much, just nodded and looked away. Emily, though, couldn't meet my eyes. I wasn't angry anymore, just done trying to earn respect that should have been there all along. I told them I'd forgiven them, not for their sake, but for mine. Holding on would have kept me chained to the same pain I'd finally escaped. I left that conversation lighter than I'd ever felt. Months later, my freelance work turned into a full-time, remote job. I moved to a coastal town, the same kind of place we'd vacationed in, but this time on my own terms. Every sunrise reminded me that sometimes you have to ruin their version of family peace to find your own. They said I ruined the vacation. Maybe I did, but that was the first day I stopped letting them ruin me. If you've ever been blamed for ruining things just because you finally stood up for yourself, remember this: peace isn't found by keeping quiet. It's found by walking away. Sometimes losing them is the start of finding you. If you've ever had to choose between their approval and your peace, choose peace. Don't apologize for outgrowing people who only loved you when you were small. Like, share, and follow for more real stories that remind you it's okay to walk away.